I got to go to Ford's Theater.
Yes.
Ooh,
God, that was
interesting.
sweet. I mean, it's so. I mean, we're talking like these things affect the world,
Yes.
right? And like DC is so kind of small in scale, really, but it affects the entire United States, and it's just so weird to think about how much has happened there and how far it's gone.
The ripple effect on just history in general.
For sure.
Yeah.
Inspired by the adventures of our nurses, therapists, and techs, A Beer with Atlas is the only healthcare traveling, craft beer drinking podcast. Each week, we'll open a few beers, talk about the brewery and the style of beer, and then dive into some research curated specifically for each episode. In the end, we hope each one sounds like a conversation you'd have with your friends while enjoying a few cold ones.
Welcome to another episode of A Beer with Atlas. I'm Rich.
And I'm Brian.
Ooh, what was that?
I was trying to go low because your volume was high,
I know.
so I was trying to go low.
Well, luckily for us this week, producer Dolan is not here. Luckily.
He's on assignment.
He is on assignment.
As they say in the news biz.
Producer Jamie is with us.
Hi.
And Jamie, by design, not only because Dolan's out of town.
Right.
Jamie went to this brewery in Washington, D.C., ironically named Atlas Brew Works. Right?
That works pretty good for us, yeah.
Yeah, so there we go. So, Jamie, tell us about this beer as we open it up and get rolling on it, and then I'll give you some brewery facts.
So this is called the Precious One.
Precious.
It is an apricot IPA. When we went there for the meet and greet, this was a fan favorite of all of our nurses who were with us. They loved it. Kept hearing people say, you got to try the apricot IPA. And I got to be honest, I'm just now starting to get into craft beer, and I was not a fan of IPAs at first. I didn't really like them. But this one is really good. Has a nice sweet flavor. And
Did you bring a glass with you?
I didn't.
No?
I thought that was for me.
This one is for you. Okay, we'll make this one for you.
We'll do it.
Look how nice this is with the new logo. Anyone that, and we'll put a picture up here, so the picture that you're looking at, wherever you consume podcasts here, anyone that sends us a beer, we will gladly send them not only a Beer with Atlas pint glass, we will also send you the Beer with Atlas taster that you see on the picture there.
It's amazing. What a deal.
Fanciness, right?
Steal.
Totally a steal. So, you are not an IPA fan whatsoever.
I wasn't. I'm getting there.
You know, that's familiar because that's what Dolan said.
Exactly.
That's what a lot of people say. That's what you said.
That's what I said. Until Fairy Nectar, right? I mean, that was kind of where I was at.
I feel like you got to work here. It's like
well,
a cult of IPA.
It is. That's true. That is true. But
or just craft beer in general.
You have to work yourself into it.
Yeah.
There are levels of beer until you get to the IPA, and that's
sure.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of the blanket beer. It's what most breweries have one, you know.
We've got like 5 weeks of IPAs coming up here.
Oh shucks.
Everyone sends us IPAs now, so which is fine.
Hey, I got a lager coming your way. So
Man,
I've heard about this.
Smells very fruity.
It does, you know, and
Tastes very fruity too. Yep.
I like it. There's a little IPA, the bites at the back.
Yeah,
right?
there is one. There's not much.
There's a little bit of the pininess. I'm not surprised that you like this. Then this is, I think
14 IBUs.
That's barely.
That's like they put a hop in and they took it out.
And they took it. They just dipped it in for a second. The bag of hops pellets was close to the.
It was adjacent to the kettle.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we're going with this. I like this. I like the design of the can. Very cool. Now, I wonder, why is it called steampunk? Do you know anything about this, Rich?
I do not. I do know this is, and Jamie, you could probably speak to this. This is the nation's first all-solar-powered brewery.
That's why they won they won an award. I saw it on their website.
If you go to their website and you click through, you can it actually takes you to a very official kind of tracking site. It says, like, click here, and it shows, like, how much power that they've used that day, that week, that month.
That's cool.
That type of thing. And like,
there's a little screen in the brewery that kind of shows you like the stats, and so that's kind of cool. You get to see that, and then it's like a garage door between just the sitting area and the actual, brewery, which is cool. You get to see all of that.
Interesting. So the more I get into this, the more just kind of that hop mellows out at the end. So if you're not an IPA drinker whatsoever, this is as approachable as you can get. Yeah, with the nice fruit flavor. I guess apricot. I don't know if I guess so. Okay, I can get the apricot out of that.
At the very beginning, I get it, like at the intake.
Yeah. So Atlas Brew Works is located at 2052 West Virginia Avenue Northeast in Washington, D.C.
It's across the street from a graveyard.
Oh, spooky.
Awesome.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh.
Made the beer taste better, I bet.
Maybe. More of a kind of like we've seen other breweries where it's industrial park kind of area.
Yeah, sure.
I think so.
It's not a great area, to be honest.
Well,
kind of sketchy.
You got to get that rent, you know?
Right. You need a lot of space to brew beer.
Well, I can tell you from when I was in D.C. last year, they were building a second one of these places, right?
Yep.
And it's directly across the street from the baseball stadium.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that rent is a little higher than in the
Little
old
bit.
graveyard section.
I wonder if it's one of those deals where now are they brewing there too?
I think it was just a tap room because it looked like it did not look like a building you would have real tall brewing availability. No, like it was a pretty small. It was almost and not a strip mall building, but just a huge building that was broken into other buildings. If that makes sense.
Yep.
It was like going to be like the size of the whole block. It looked like from what I could tell.
Well, and so Nebraska has a law, and I'm only familiar with this because of cross-train and my involvement there. But Nebraska has a law where you can self-distribute to 5 individual, like your own tap rooms.
Tap rooms, yeah.
So you can load up your own beer and take it down there, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest cost that a brewery might have is distribution.
Yes.
So being able to self-distribute
Yeah, would be
might
nice.
offset that cost of it being right down there by Nationals
That's
Park.
one of the main reasons beer is expensive.
Distribution.
Right? Yes, because they're going to have to pass that on somewhere, and that usually ends up in your pint glass.
It is shocking to see how little money a brewery makes if you're buying it off the shelf at a grocery store or whatever, as opposed to the bulk of what they make if you're getting it out of the tap at the at the brewery.
It's almost like a band, like a touring band, where you might buy their album on iTunes or whatever, but if you go there and buy it from them in person or a T-shirt, like they get that money a lot better.
Way better margins for them.
Yes.
Way better. So open Monday through Thursday 4 to 10, Friday 4 to 11, Saturday 11 to 11, and Sunday 11 to 10. Tours available Saturday at noon, 2, 4, and 6 p.m. They don't have food, but as you've experienced, they have food trucks, and you can bring food in. And
Yes, and fun fact, so we actually did get a tour. We went there on a Sunday. They don't have tours on Sundays. We talked them into it, which was nice.
well, we're Atlas too, so
Yeah.
Strong arm.
had good pull there.
totally.
Yeah, we just Uber eated. What is the past tense of Uber Eats?
Uber ate.
We Uber ate.
Uber ate.
We Uber ate
It's not like eating a lot.
like 5 Guys or something. Like just a bunch of hot dogs and burgers. It was nice.
That sounds good too.
Most every brewery I've ever been is totally cool with that. You can bring in whatever you want.
You also can bring your baby. It was very baby friendly. There were at least 3 while we were there, and dog friendly.
That's
Interesting.
the best.
Yeah.
Well, that's the market now.
Maddox loves going to breweries with me. One, because they always have some sort of craft pop or something, right?
Yeah.
And there's always board games.
Yeah. Always board games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So CEO Justin Cox grew up in Tennessee and went to school at Vanderbilt. Afterwards, he came back to DC to do came to DC to do some government work. He was a home brewer the whole time and finally thought, you know what, maybe this whole government thing isn't for me. I'm gonna brew some beer. And he met Will Durgin. Sorry, Will, if I mispronounced your name. Durgin. Will Durgin. And he joined as the head brewer, and they both opened up the Atlas Brew Works in September of 2013. In August of 2015, Atlas became 100% solar powered through a partnership with Solar Solution. Like that's the one that you click on and you can see how much, or whatever. So I think that's a lot. That's super cool as we've kind of evolved with energy and stuff. Having, knowing that you can brew beer just using the sun is pretty damn cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And like you said, the new location opens spring of 2020, so right in time for baseball.
Yeah.
How's it always come back around to baseball for us?
We find a way.
Yeah,
It's beer and baseball. They go together.
that's exactly right. Beer and baseball. just go together. So I was really jealous you got to go here, not only because of the name Atlas. I think it's super cool. We've got a tin sign here. It sits right behind Brian on the wall. But I've heard really good things about their beer. This one is super approachable IPA, 6.4% ABV, so low for an IPA generally, right?
I like, you know how sometimes it'll say pairings, and this one has the pairings on the side.
Yeah.
Duck confit, mascarpone cheese, and dragon boat races.
What the hell is a dragon boat
I assume
race?
it's some sort of thing they do in the river there.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to guess.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I did a little research on the award that they got, like the solar panel stuff.
Oh, sweet.
Because I was wondering kind of more about it, and basically it looks like DC actually cares about the environment a little bit. So there's a bunch of different foundations and...
Wait. Even with all the politicians there?
Yeah.
What?
Well, yes.
Wait a minute.
I was surprised too.
Wait a minute.
So I wrote down some of the programs that they are like funding and or like really pushing for.
Okay.
One of them is called Our Last Straw. So it's 2 straws. It was the logo. And it's like we're not having straws anymore in DC. They're trying to do that.
Nice.
One was called River Smart, which was basically cleaning up streets so that trash and junk doesn't get washed down the storm drains, and then that ends up in the river.
Oh, yeah.
So they're trying to like really push for that. And then the other one was called Skip the Bag. So it was no plastic bags, and if you wanted one, you had to pay for it, which was true when I was in DC. I went to little CVS to get some chalky milk, as you do for when you travel with a toddler, and I had to pay for the bag because I had to walk 3 miles. So I did pay for the plastic, but I used it again. So they're trying to basically ban those things, and that is the group, I guess, that they won the award from. That's doing all these promotional things.
Yep.
And it was just because of their like amazing use of solar panels.
How do you feel about that? I have a feeling I know how Jamie feels about this.
About what?
So, like the
environment?
Well, no, not the environment.
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan of the environment too. Like I
Yes.
try to do my part to recycle and you know whatever. But the straw thing, I'll tell you what. You want to make $1 bajillion. Come up with a reusable some sort of, and not the stuff on the market now is garbage. No one's using metal straws over and over, and no one's taking a metal straw to the restaurant.
Aaron Daly's using one right now.
He
Nice.
uses one in his cup here,
Yes.
but he's not going to Cunningham's over here and
To
using
take
them.
us-
Right? No,
Right,
You're
okay.
not. You're not doing that. Come up with some sort of renewable, reusable, recyclable straw that they can just put on your table that you use it, and then they throw away, recycle, whatever. Like
They have the paper straws.
Those are horrible.
Yeah, they're
Have you
junk.
drinking out of the paper?
Yeah.
Drank out of the paper? No, they're terrible. They fall
Just
apart.
don't,
they
just
get
don't use a
mushy.
straw then. Just use,
No, I
use
don't-
your lips.
I don't
Just
wanna
chug
put-
it.
I don't want to put my mouth on the glass.
Yeah, not with the coronavirus.
What if what if you use bamboo? Could you use bamboo? And
It grows fast.
It does grow fast. I don't
You
know.
could, I suppose. I don't know. I thought Starbucks had some sort of like big straw breakthrough they were touting.
They have new cups. It's you don't need a straw. I mean, they have like a built-in straw.
Maybe that's the thing, is come up with a cup that you don't need a straw. My wife still loves straws. She gets mad at places that have paper straws.
Right.
You know, not that she hates the environment, but she still likes the
She's a
convenience
straw
of a straw person. She's a straw person. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
Totally fine.
Doesn't bother me. I'm not. So
How about the plastic bag thing?
I don't like them. I never try to use them. The only time I use them, I save them. And I use them for picking up my dog's presents.
Right.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
That's the only thing I use it for.
Cleaning the litter box. That's
Yeah.
really about, or like taking my lunch to work.
Yeah.
Not the same bag. Different bag.
Well, if you turn it inside out.
Well, yeah.
But other than that, I'm very for getting rid of plastic bags.
Yeah.
I'm for it too. This is a funny story from when we were in Russia. We you paid for plastic bags there, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right, and so we're going through this grocery store at the first time paying for our stuff, and we've got all this. We were so typical Americans. It was all junk food. It was like pop and chips and candy
Yeah.
bars and just or whatever. And they're not bagging it for us. And we're like, what do we do? I don't know. And so then I go down to like there's bags down there, so I pull a bag off, and she goes net and slapped my hand.
Oh.
And the one guy spoke just a little bit of English, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Money, you have to." And I'm like, "Okay." So I just reached in my pocket, and I had just like a handful of rubles, and I just held it out like this, and she looked at it, and she picked out a couple, and
That was good enough.
then I got 2 bags, and one of them ripped on the way back to the apartment. It was
That's how you
terrible.
do it. Just make bags that are terribly made, and then
Yeah.
people will stop using
And
them.
then people will stop using them.
Well, they're already starting that.
True, they're getting really thin.
Oh yeah! Wow. I could have gone on a plastic bag tangent, but I won't. Instead, you know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to give you a little knowledge about apricots. Because I don't, I've had them. I don't know much about them.
I don't either.
Now we're going to.
Okay,
It's in the stone fruit family. Stone fruit, because it has like a pit.
like a cherry? Is a
Yes,
cherry a
it's in the
stone
same
fruit?
family, and it's also it's a member of the rose family. So if you trace roses, and these come off the same branch, so to speak, pun
Really?
intended. They're related to peaches, as we would consider or assume, because they look very similar. Apricots are usually smaller and a little bit more round. Let's see what else. Oh, they're related to plums, which is similar. But then this one I thought was interesting. Almonds. It's in the almond family.
I think I knew that.
I didn't.
Just because of, well, okay, how's this? I knew almonds were related to fruit somehow.
Okay. Well, there's the connection. Mediterranean is where most apricots come from,
Okay.
and like 90% of them in the world come from these areas. They are high in natural sugar, a great source of vitamin A, I found out. And if you eat them when they're dried, like dried apricots, like a snack, really good in iron. So they're very healthy for you in that way.
Oh,
The trees are super drought resistant, which is why you might have seen, I know on my grandparents' farm, they had a tree, an apricot tree. Midwest has some, not a lot, but like a lot of family farms would have had them back in the day. Same with cherry trees. They can kind of withstand it. They will grow and live up to 100 years. So that's a long time.
jeez.
And in California, they showed up. That's how they got to the United States. Was in California via the Spanish missionaries in the 1700s. So they have only been here not a very long time. About as long as we've been a country, I guess. But
So not indigenous to the United
No.
States. Oh,
no.
interesting.
And the top 5 producers in the world, I wrote this down: Turkey, Iran, Italy, Uzbekistan, and Algeria. And 95% of the apricots from the United States come from California. So that's like the one place that they do grow.
It makes sense, right? I mean, this low rainfall totals, and yeah.
So that's that stuff. You're supposed to, when you get them in the grocery store, if they're not ripe, you're supposed to leave them at room temperature.
Okay.
And then once they are ripe, then put them in the fridge, because otherwise it like stunts the ripening and the taste is not great. So if you ever buy some, similar with peaches, you're not supposed to just throw them in the fridge and forget about it. You're supposed to let them ripen and then stick them in the fridge.
I know with peaches, at least, and maybe this is true with apricots, I don't know. Like, if you want them to ripen quickly, you put them in a brown paper bag and kind of roll it up, and the carbon dioxide will help them
Yes.
ripen faster.
I'm a fan of not ripe fruits.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Bananas? You like green bananas?
not green, but if it's got a brown spot on it, hit the road.
Wow.
It's not good anymore. Save it for
No.
banana bread.
Yeah,
You could do that.
you could.
We use them for smoothies, I think. Might we freeze them?
So you want your fruit to be a little more firm.
Yes, I like a. It almost bites you back on a plum.
Okay.
It's like you got to work on it. It's not one of those where you just put it on your mouth and it just goes. That's gross to me. Nah, that's past its due.
Okay.
So sorry to share that with you guys.
I know that's
No.
that's
Like a tomato.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I don't like tomatoes in the first place. I will eat them in things. I
Yeah.
love salsa, but like
yeah.
just mowing a tomato,
Like
gross.
an apple. No,
oh,
thank you.
No,
I'm the same. People are like, well, you like ketchup. I'm like, it's not really the same.
it's not really the same
Oh, it's too
thing.
bad. You're missing out.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are great.
Some people feel that way.
Right.
I do not.
Yeah.
So that's what you got. Little apricot teaser for you. Are you a fan of the apricot?
I
like
do.
in preserves? or-
Dried apricots. I like the dried
Yeah.
apricots, especially when they chop them up and they put them in the trail mix.
Yep.
I like that.
They're good for you. That's what they say.
Bless
I'm
you.
not a huge apricot. I'd rather have a peach or a plum, or a nectarine is probably my favorite.
You know what? I'll tell you. I don't know if I could pick up pick a nectarine off the thing. Like just say that's a nectarine. Peaches
really?
definitely.
Well, nectarine's a little bit more red than a peach on the skin, the outer skin. And the inside, they have white ones and yellow ones.
Okay.
The yellow ones are my favorite. But
You know what's a lot of fun is Steve Ryan grows Saturn peaches at his house. He's got a Saturn peach tree, the real thin, like the thin ones.
Okay.
Have you seen those?
No, I don't think so.
So they grow kind of flat.
Weird.
And they are delicious. They're kind of a little more white than they are pink.
Okay.
And so then on the inside, the fleshy part is white.
So what does he do with these?
Eats them.
Just plain, just straight up? You don't...
If the deer don't eat them, then he would,
then he gets a couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they're super cool to look at as they're growing too, because they're really flat and
strange.
interesting. You'll see them in the store every once in a while too. Saturn peaches.
Saturn Peaches.
Millions of peaches. I had
Great
to do
song.
Who didn't think of that
it.
song?
I had to do it.
I like it.
So you want to go somewhere next?
Where are we going?
Well, we talked about this beer, and the obvious thing for me was the precious part. And I said, okay, I'm not doing that. Because I would have took, that's like it's
like a 2-hour tangent,
at least.
Precious.
So what I wanted to do was I kept a DC,
Okay.
and it's quasi-political. We're not going to get any hate mail or anything.
Okay.
Basically, I wanted to find out about the animal symbols.
Oh, the donkey
And the elephant.
Yeah.
So I wanted to figure out, like, okay, where's this come from? Why are they those animals?
Okay.
How did that happen? That whole backstory. So
Have you noticed, this is a complete tangent here, have
Okay.
you noticed that, and Dolan especially does it, when we say donkey now, we say donkey?
Donkey.
Because,
Like
because
Shrek?
of Shrek.
Donkey?
I do it all the time now.
wow.
I just
That's
did it right
surprising
there.
that Dolan, he pointed that out?
No, I just noticed it.
Oh.
I was listening to a previous podcast
He
where
said donkey?
Travis Hafner,
Donkey.
right?
Oh,
his
yeah.
nickname was Donkey,
Yeah.
and Dolan multiple times like Donkey.
And that's funny because he hates that movie.
Yeah, he does it anyway.
Wow.
So
That was the only time he came alive during that episode. So we brought up Shrek.
that's true. That
He
is
was like
true.
otherwise in a coma.
Yeah, he didn't want to listen.
He woke up, said donkey, and then he went back to sleep.
Manny Ramirez? What?
Who?
No.
Yeah.
Donkey.
That was funny.
Anyway, please continue.
All right. So here's what we got. We know, as it stands now, Republican equals elephant, donkey, Democrat. That's how it's been basically since, from what I could find, about 1830 or so. That's been in place. It first appeared in print in like a weekly magazine that they had. And the person that is not necessarily the father of, but it's the person that it's they trace back in history to be like, okay, this is why it's stuck. Dude's name was Thomas Nast. Now that name should be familiar to you.
It is.
Because he's the same person that came up with what we think of as Santa Claus. And we did that episode.
Loved
And he
that
also
episode.
is the person that came up with what we think of as Uncle Sam. So this dude was a baller,
Wow.
right? So he's got the politics part. He's
Yeah.
got Uncle Sam and he's got Santa. So he's just America all the way.
Next, you're going to tell me he came up with Bugs Bunny or something.
He's before that time.
Okay.
It was in Harper's Magazine, which is what he worked for. And the cartoon that it was like one of, let's see, it was the president at the time's like Secretary of War had passed away.
Okay.
And they had depicted that person as a lion. And they depicted these Southern-owned newspapers, which they called Copperheads. That was like a Southern Democrat. So they called that
Copperheads.
Yeah.
Okay.
They basically he drew a donkey as being a Democrat and was kicking this dead lion. So that was like, they felt like the Southern papers weren't respecting this great honorable Secretary of War. So that's kind of where it starts from.
Andrew Jackson.
That was his nickname
Really?
before. So that was in like the 1820s, I believe.
All right.
So he was one of the first people to be called that. It was basically because a donkey, otherwise known as a jackass, the connotations of that has not changed.
Oh.
So in the 1820s, they were like, hey, we don't like him. He's a jackass. And because he's stubborn.
Right.
Right? So what he did, and I think I wrote that down. Yes, I did. 1833. They call him that. It's all over the papers. It's in some cartoons. He's the first person that is like equated with this. But as far as the party goes, that happens in a little bit later on, 60s or 70s. But he took the idea of being a donkey and he spun it on him. And he was like, okay, well, I'm going to embrace this nickname. They say I'm stubborn and I'm dumb. I think I'm determined and I'm steadfast. I don't change. I'm not wishy-washy. I'm, whatever. So he put some positive spin on it, and it's on almost all of his like election stuff, all of his paper documents and posters at the time. He like really pushed that image. So he took what they were trying to make fun of him for and tried to spin it around, and it must have worked.
That's smart.
He won the presidency. So
Wow.
the first time it was ever in documentation as far as like for political reasons, it was on a lithograph. So that just sounds a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because like now it would be like in a, meme on Twitter.
Yep.
Back then it was like, we got to screen print this thing on a piece of metal and, all this sort of stuff. So that was 1837. Let's see, what else would I write? Oh, yeah. So Thomas Nast had seen that kicking lion comic or whatever, and he brings it back in 1874, I have. And it's another response to kind of like wartime stuff. It's after the Civil War, and it's talking kind of like about Reconstruction and how the Democrats are trying to scare Republicans with this, just like like Reconstruction theories and like how they're angry about it, and so they're trying to
The bad things that
they're trying to
come out of
fuel
it.
all this. But
Yeah.
so they're like playing that up in the papers in the South, trying to scare the North. Is how that plays.
Some things never change.
Yes.
Right.
So the Republicans in this cartoon, the elephant then is like being scared by this donkey that is wearing I think it was like a fox's outfit or a wolf. It's like wearing a wolf's thing, and the elephant's getting close to this big pit that's going to fall into it because it's scared. And that was what came in that Harper's magazine, and that's what really like struck, and it's been stuck ever since. So as you know, or maybe you don't, some people that might be listening to this, the parties basically flip-flopped what they believe and
Yes.
like what their things are, but the images stayed the same. So what we consider a Democrat now was a Republican back then, vice versa, but the animals have always been there.
Yep.
The Republican Party has actually said the elephant is their official animal of the party. Like they've said, yes, we take this, and Democrats have not. So it's just like,
They don't
on the
like
down
They
low.
don't like the donkey.
well, they still sell all sorts of stuff with it on
yeah.
there and
Well,
stuff,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's not like they don't publicize or promote that that's their official animal.
Oh, okay.
So that's where it comes from, and then it's been kind of just blown up ever since, and now it's like synonymous with the parties and everything. But I was also just looking at the political cartoons at the time, and they were really different than what we have now.
Okay.
As far as like there was so much information they were trying to pack into it. It was like handwritten stuff. Everything had a label. It was all symbolism. Like each animal in this one specifically was representing something else. So there was all these different animals that were easily scared, like chickens and foxes and stuff that wouldn't stand up to this wolf or whatever that was really a donkey in disguise. But it was like hard to read it. I had to zoom in just to even see it, and I couldn't believe like that was, but that was really back then in those magazines especially.
Yeah.
That's how like you found out about stuff.
There was no other way for them to convey that message at the time,
No.
right? That's
I think it's so crazy to think about how we are now in this like 24-hour news cycle, but also on the other side, it's like 10-minute news cycle.
Yes.
Like stuff happens and then it's gone.
Yep.
But then, 150 years ago, it might have took months for you to find out something, especially in political things. So getting these magazines, like a lot of people read them, and like that's where they got their information. So seeing that in a magazine was very impactful for the country, I guess, as it goes.
So it made sense they had to pack all that information into that,
Yes.
right? They're trying to tell a story,
yeah.
whereas now we just kind of click on it, and then we read the headline in the first
That's
two
pretty
lines,
much it.
and then
Yeah.
swipe out of
yes.
it.
And then we do it again next hour
Exactly.
or whatever. Yeah. So just a way different way of life. But
Right.
those principles and those images have stuck around, and they're still to this day. I remember when I was there a couple of months ago, we did the kind of a tour, like a double-decker bus tour. There was some hotel. It was a real fancy one. It was on a picture I was looking online just to kind of find the research for this. And the hotel it's over by the Pentagon, and it has a huge donkey and elephant like in the courtyard of it.
Oh.
They're like life size almost, and they're painted up red and blue with stripe or stars on it and stuff. And there's like a big photo op place, but those had been there for like 100 years.
It's not the Watergate Hotel.
No.
No. Is that still there?
Unfortunately. If it is, I didn't see it.
Okay.
It was right next to like the news museum, which I know is now closed or closing. There's a museum about news.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah. All news is fake anymore, so it doesn't really matter.
That's true.
Yeah,
So you don't need a museum for it, apparently.
There we
Can
go.
I tell you guys about the hotel that we stayed at?
Absolutely.
So this place was called the Hotel Hive. It had a bee theme.
HIVE. Hive.
That's cool.
Yes, it used to be a hostel, and then they transformed it into a hotel, and it's only about like 3 years old. This place was the most modern
Nice.
place I've ever stayed. They didn't have refrigerators in the rooms. They didn't have it was so we the four of us that went, it was me and Kelly, one of our recruiters, and then Vincent Braden. And Kelly and I upgraded, I guess, to like twin bedrooms, and that was still really small, but Braden and Vince had bunk beds.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much, that was all in the room. Just the bunk
Yeah.
beds and a bathroom, and that's it. You could not sit anywhere. There was just the bed.
There's no desk or
I mean,
anything?
a little desk,
Okay.
almost like a ledge, if you will.
One that was just in the way.
Yes.
Tiny, tiny, tiny rooms, but they were very cool. And the bar was really cool. Again, just a bunch of bee iconography, like the design had all of these like comb designs. It was
Interesting.
very, very cool. And I'll just give them a little shout out. They had some of the very best hospitality right in downtown DC. So it was easy to get everywhere. They were super nice and accommodating. And Kelly and I's room, she had this like, I don't know, just a hairdryer that had all of this like mist, and it set off our fire alarm, and it went off for 3 hours.
Oh.
Could not
Jeez.
figure out how to turn it off. They had multiple people come into our room. Like we left. We weren't going to deal with it anymore.
Right.
But they comped our room. So they're like, hey, I'm so sorry this happened. You don't have to pay for like 2 nights. They were so nice to
that's
us.
awesome.
Score.
So if you want to stay there, and it's like cost effective too. Like it was, I don't know what the budget was for it, but I mean, it wasn't very expensive. So if you guys are staying in DC, go to this place. It is
it out.
very, very cool.
Try
There's-
to turn on the smoke detector.
Right.
And if
see
you
what
have,
happens.
I mean, it works, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know that their stuff works. If you like craft beer, they have craft pizza.
Oh, tell me more.
Oh, so good.
You don't know. You don't know. Like
So good.
Like if Brian had to give up beer or pizza, I think he would give up
He was just
beer in order to eat pizza.
such
Yeah,
good
I would.
pizza. It was like they had one. I think it was called like, it was either the Dirty Bird or the Angry Bird, and it was like a buffalo chicken
Yes.
with like egg.
Yeah. Oh,
It was
yeah.
really good.
I hope it's the Dirty Bird. That just sounds more fun to
That's
me.
way more fun.
Yeah, stay at
Well, it's
Hotel
DC.
Hive.
I think that's right.
I was surprised when I was there. I figured everything would be super expensive. Like I was ready for like $15 beers and like crazy price, and it really wasn't that bad where we stayed.
Really?
We stayed right by the river, right by God. Where was it? I can't remember what the name of it's called. I could tell you on a map, but it was like this boatyard area, and they had like fish market,
Okay.
like and shrimp and stuff, like right there off the river, and it was in the airspace towards the White House.
Okay.
So these huge military helicopters would fly over the river and this like all the time, like every half an hour, and then you would see these big helicopters come flying through.
Ooh.
And there was tons of restaurants. There was like a Ben and Jerry's ice cream shop.
No way, Ben and Jerry's. Oh wait, just kidding.
That too.
Just think of something
Dolan,
else.
cut this out. I thought you said Maggie Moo's. I'm like, wait, that still exists? I'm so
That
sorry.
would be great.
Do
if
not
it did.
cut this out.
No.
Leave that in.
Okay.
Yeah, leave it. So-
Continue.
There you
So
go.
they had Bennett, like I'd never seen one of those before.
Yeah.
So you could go and get your favorite flavor right there.
You get Cherry Garcia? Mm-hmm. Oh, I
You
love
could
it.
have that. They had like British pubs and pizza and Mexican places, and it was all this little hot spot right in this little area where we stayed, and it was walkable. It was right next to the Spy Museum, and it was about
Awesome.
a block from that was the mall. So like me and my kid walked everywhere in this certain central area, got to go to all the Smithsonian museums that we wanted and all that stuff, and totally walkable and real close to where we stayed. And I had a blast. I was surprised. I didn't want to go. It's one of those trips my wife was like, all right, we're going to, she had to work every day.
Yeah.
And taking a toddler, I was like, oh, I don't want to. But when we got there, we had a lot of fun.
You have a good time?
You went to the Spy Museum too, right?
Yes,
Isn't
we
that
did.
right? How was that?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't really get a chance to actually look at anything. We went there for a scavenger hunt, which was a ton of fun. So we broke out into teams, and then they gave you a list of just different things you're supposed to look for and fill out the form. And then the winners got like 20% off in the gift store. But it was fun, and I felt kind of bad for all the other attendees who were not a part of our group because we were just like running around
everywhere.
and
Yeah.
almost like shoving people out of the way to like get the clues. But it's a cool place.
If you have a chance to go there and you have some time, I totally suggest going to it because it's less busy than the Smithsonian places, but you can definitely learn as much or more. It's really cool when you walk in, they give you like a code. You have like a code name, and if you want to like play along with it, you're like a secret agent, and you have all these different video screens that you can go to, and you like basically crack codes that they give you, decrypt things. You have to go and find different things in there, similar to what you're talking about, but it was like a mission that you had. So when you got there, they give you this like ID card, and you scan it. Tells you your backstory, where you're from, who you are, what you're trying to do, and all the different places in the museum. There's things for you to achieve. So at the end, you got to figure out like who did what, or did you make it? Were you not found out? Basically, did you?
Oh, sure.
Did you do your mission? And it was really cool. And they had actual stuff of like stuff you'd want to see. Like, okay, this was a camera and a book in the 40s in Germany. And, like they had that sort of stuff. And they had like one of the things I remember was a pigeon that had a camera like attached to it. Like this was like in the 20s or 30s, and it was like it was so funny, but it was like a harness for a pigeon that had a camera that had like a long lens on it, and they would just fly this over and get like military information. Then it would come like a homing pigeon. It would come back to them with this film, and then they would develop the film and see what they could find.
They would train the pigeon to fly with this camera on it.
Yeah.
They've been training pigeons for a long time.
Long time.
Okay.
And then they also had more like modern stuff too, like how they, if there's like a, bomb suspect or something like in the subway, like how they track them and all the cameras and how they can find out basically where they are and that sort of stuff. Very cool. A lot of Russian stuff. A lot of like Cold War things, basically is what the museum turned out to be. But they had a lot of stuff for kids to do too. It was just really fun and interesting. And they had the cool car from James Bond.
Yes, they do, right when you walk in.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, International Man of Mystery. I mean,
He's the spy.
It's a cool spot.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
What's your guys' favorite DC museum, attraction, memorial?
That's tough. So my dad was a Vietnam vet, and when I was in high school, we got to go to see the wall. And
Very moving.
Yeah, super moving. Like it's you're as you know like there's street noise and whatever, but it's kind of built down a little way. So when you get down there, it's almost eerily quiet, and it was impactful. So as a high school kid, it was as a 17-year-old, it was impactful.
That surprises me a little bit that it actually made an impact. You know what I mean? Like 17 is not the time you're reflecting usually.
No.
For me, one of the things I really took away from it was just how weird it was to see these things that you've seen your whole life in like pictures and on TV, but to actually be there was really just strange.
Like the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, like walking up there and going. I went similar to you. I went to the World War II thing and saw they had the 50 states or whatever all around, and I found Nebraska. My grandpa was a World War II soldier, and took some pictures there. Probably my favorite thing, and this is going to be a slap on my back story, but I'm going to go for it. On the mall, there was a carousel, and my kid wanted to ride it, of course, and I was like, all right, yeah, let's do this thing. We're here, probably maybe the only time. So we go ride it, had a good time. We go back the next day. He wants to do it again. So cool, we'll do it. And there's another kid his age behind us in line the second day, and his dad, and they're obviously not from there. He's like Australian accent is what I picked up, and he wanted to ride the thing, and they're like, okay. Well, then they get up to the thing, and they only took cash, and this dad doesn't have cash, and the kid's like crying, and I'm like, whatever. It was like $8. Pay for it.
Do it.
So me and another guy in line that didn't know these people, we were not connected to them at all. We basically split the cost so they could ride on the carousel, because I was like, if that was me and my kid, I would I would 100% want somebody
Yeah.
to do that if they could.
Oh, yeah.
So we did, and then we got to talk afterwards and found out, where he was from, Australia, but he had lived in D.C. for a while and had been around, and he just wanted to show his kid the sights that he got to see when he was small. So that was like probably my favorite memory, that and the Dinosaur Museum.
That's
obviously.
awesome.
What about you? When you were just being there, like, what do you think?
Well, that was my third time going. I went with my 8th grade class, and my dad grew up in the area. So we went there one year and went to all of the places he used to live. And then just, went and did some sightseeing. Unfortunately, when we went for the meet and greet, we didn't really get to do very much outside of the events that we had planned. And that was kind of cool because we got, a taste of, if you live there, not like the touristy stuff.
Sure.
What are the other things you could do? So that was kind of fun. But I mean, I gotta go classic and say the Lincoln Memorial is one of my absolute favorites. I would not nearly as moving as some of the war memorials, but it's so cool to go up there just knowing. We almost named my son Lincoln, so we ended up naming him after another president, but well, not after him, but just happened to have the same name.
The president of the Chicago Cubs.
No.
In my head, that's what it is.
But it's a cool, and I love the Jefferson too. I just love those big marble dudes. That's a weird way to describe
big
it.
marble dude.
It is a weird way,
But they're cool.
but it's effective.
It's beautiful architecture, and just you got to be important to have something like that made for you. And when we were driving around, going to different places, you could see it in the distance, and that was really cool. Just how big they are in person, and how big they even look just from 100 yards away. I don't even know, like a couple miles away. And I also really love Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Interesting.
That one's really cool.
Did you hear just recently somebody got arrested on that thing?
What? Really?
Because it was like a lady, and she like climbed over the security wall and like wanted to go take a selfie, and they're like, stop, and they had to like go tackle her and arrest her like yesterday.
on.
Yeah, that happened.
No way.
Whoa.
Society is awesome now.
It's pretty great.
Nice.
One of the other things when I went there was a beautiful day. It wasn't kind of late summer, so it was hot but not terrible. And we went to the Martin Luther King one, and it was me, my wife, and my kid, and that was it. We were the only people there.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was like it's kind of out of the way, which makes me, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not on purpose, but maybe all the real estate's already taken. You know what I mean? For some of those, but it literally was like you kind of had to go there on purpose. You weren't just going to stumble into it. But we were the 3 people there for like 20 minutes. We sat there and took pictures, and just it was right by the lake, and it was real pretty. But we were the only ones there.
It was there just for you.
And then we went to the Lincoln one, and there was like 5,000 people on each step.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your favorite?
So that was it. It was the Vietnam Memorial. I think that probably made the biggest impact on me.
I got to go, and maybe you guys have been there too, but I got to go to Ford's Theater.
Yes.
Ooh,
God, that was
interesting.
sweet. I mean, it's so.
Interesting.
I mean, we're talking like these things affect the world,
Yes.
right? And like DC is so kind of small in scale, really, but it affects the entire United States, and it's just so weird to think about how much has happened there and how far it's gone.
The ripple effect on just history in general.
For
is-
sure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you know the play that he was singing?
I don't remember what it's called, but if you said it, I would know.
Our American Cousin.
There you go.
Oh. Who is our cousin? Canada?
Sure.
Mexico?
Probably.
Mexico?
Back then, I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe France.
Ugh.
Hey, they gave us the Statue of Liberty.
They did give it. Okay, you're right.
And French fries.
And the Chris sandwich.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Yep. All right. So TripAdvisor, 4.5 out of 5 on 28 reviews. So not too bad. Low number of reviews for this place, but not too bad. I think having seen the pictures and then some of the feedback as our group came back from that meet and greet, this is definitely something we go do again. I think we would go there again.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
So the steampunk thing, I mean, it's kind of in their logo. It's got gears and all sorts of stuff.
and yep.
I'm wondering, if all their beers have steampunk. This is like only the second Atlas beer I've had.
This is it. We had so they sent
That
us
one.
Dance of Days, which was
Yeah.
just a pale ale. I was really interested in Ponzi. I saw they had a beer called Ponzi, which
like
is
the Ponzi
hilarious.
scheme?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for DC.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
When they showed us the back room, I mean, they had like how they named their beers was really cool. Like different. So they have metal shows there.
Oh, nice.
So they showed us where they do that, and just some of the beers that they named were pretty cool. But they had I don't remember what it was called, but they had a stout that I really liked, and I'm a stout person. I'm becoming one at least, but I didn't want to bring that back because I didn't think that Rich would like it.
I told you bring back whatever you can.
Well, this one worked out pretty good.
Yeah. Untapped, what do you think? 1,140 check-ins.
3.64.
Do you participate on Untapped at all, Jamie? Do you
no,
know?
I
This
don't.
is out of 5. Out of 5. What do you think this ranks? It's all
What do I think, or what is my rating?
What would you rate it out of 5?
Oof, I don't know. I feel like this is a rookie number, but like 4.1.
Oh, there we go.
No, it's not a rookie number at all.
That means that you liked it.
Yeah.
And you drink it again.
374 is where it ranks.
okay.
So,
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you're close. I would probably, from just an approachability standpoint and the fruitiness, I would, that's a 4 for me all day long.
Yeah. It definitely was better as it was real cold.
It was, yes.
Because now what I have left is less, but also the apricot comes out more when it's a little bit warmer.
It does. The fruitiness comes out a little bit more. That's true. That's absolutely true. So, well, Jamie, thank you so much for bringing this beer to us.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was awesome.
Like I said, I got another one coming for you. So.
Ooh, that's right. Have you told Brian about this?
I just heard it was a lager just a minute ago.
Apparently, it's a lager named after Stan Musial. Is that right? Another baseball one. So we can nerd out on baseball again.
Stan the man.
You're going to have to talk about the Cardinals for
That was my dad's favorite baseball
minutes.
player. Was Stan.
Really?
Yeah.
We have a baseball signed by him.
Awesome. Dude was good. He was a good ball player. I mean, it's unfortunate he played for the Cardinals, but he was a good ball player.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think he won some World Series maybe.
maybe one, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about
Just
those.
one?
I don't want to talk about those.
Just one?
Not till the episode.
Next couple weeks, we got some. No kidding. Got more IPAs coming, including another Atlas beer. So there's a brewery down in Oklahoma that has a beer called Atlas.
Oh, the beer's named Atlas.
The beer is called Atlas. The logo is fantastic. And one of our travelers sent us a 6-pack of this. So
nice.
I can't wait to get into it.
So we have to send the pint and
the
taster glass.
It's right up your alley. It's a West Coast piney hoppy IPA.
Yum.
You're going to love it.
Can't wait.
All right. So until next time, Brian, we're not going anywhere for a while.
Let's have another IPA.
Thank you for listening to A Beer with Atlas. Special thanks to our brand team for producing the show. Each episode of A Beer with Atlas is powered by Atlas MedStaff, an industry leader in travel healthcare staffing.